Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind Your Mental. Just a reminder that this podcast is not meant to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. I know they are hard to find, and I get that. I have a bunch of resources on my website if you need them, but I am not your clinician. I am a psychologist, but I am not your psychologist. So if you need any specific help, please look for the help of a licensed mental health professional. Learn all you can learn from the podcast. Enjoy the episode. In this realm, when it comes to sports, and I talk about stigmas all the time. I think one of the reasons why I want to do the show is because I wanted to break down stigmas, but there are a bunch of stigmas surrounding mental health. And as someone who not only is, you are a Black man, and then you are also going into two realms that I feel like aren't talked about as much when it comes to mental health. You have sports and athletics, and then also the aspect of being a Black clinician in the first place and specializing in boys. Like, what are some ways, or what are some messages that you typically share about mental health being important or coaching being important in that realm with those individuals that you work with?
Yeah, that's a great question to ask me. Back when I first got into psychotherapy, I was listening to, I think it was Brene Brown. She had a nugget that stuck with me, and she was talking about vulnerability. And she said vulnerability is an accurate measure of a person's courage. And that resonated with me, and it stuck with me. And so when I'm in practice and when I'm talking about it, this type of work that we do, I always tell men that, hey guys, it's okay to be vulnerable because it actually shows your level of courage. And I just kind of sit back and they reflect on it. And they're like, okay, cool. And then I ask them, how do you feel right now in this moment? I'm doing it here and now. Like, do you feel weak in this moment right now? They're like, no, I don't feel weak at all. And I just say, hey, well, how do you feel? Sometimes I have to pull out the feelings chart, or most people can tell me how they feel, but they never say weak. They always say something like, I feel cool, I feel empowered, or I feel like I'm having this awakening. Or it's always a positive emotion. It's never, oh, I feel weak for telling you that I cried last night because my wife didn't call me when she said she would, right? Or I feel weak because my day didn't go high. They're not telling me that they feel a weakness. And so that's how I do it all the time. I always check in the here and now. Like, hey, how are you feeling right now? I'll remind them that vulnerability is a measure of their courage.
I love that. How do you, whether you're working with boys that are athletes or young men that are not athletes, how do you guide them in developing a sense of purpose overall, like for individuals who may not have that?
So I like to do like some type of personality assessment with young boys, or even anybody, just to give them an inside look at themselves outside of the sport. Because when you're an athlete, your whole identity becomes, I'm a football player, I'm a wrestler, or whatever sport you are, that becomes your whole identity. And then when I ask you, so all right, every athlete knows at some point you're gonna have to hang it up. What are you gonna do after that? Hell, I don't know. I never even thought about it. Well, let's start thinking about it. Let's start with, let's look at your personality and find out what your personality type is. Let's look at some other things outside of your athletic ability so that you can begin to develop your sense of identity, right? Who is your circle of concern? Who are the 5 people that you need to talk to if you are feeling happy? Who do you call when you're happy? Who do you call when you need someone just to talk to? Who's your mentor? Like, let's look at who you are as a holistic person more so than just an athlete. It works for me. I love sitting back and watching, the reaction that these men and boys have when they start to learn more about their personality type. I've done attachment styles with men who, I'll just say that I've done attachment style assessments with men to help them understand why they move the way that they move. And so that's what I do to help people develop their personal identity outside of just sports. Is just I introduce different parts of who they are and bring them to that awareness.
Is there anything that you feel like might get in the way or make it more difficult for them to grasp that awareness, whether they're working with you or trying to figure this out themselves? Are there things that you kind of think, whether they're in society or social media or anything, that get in the way of people identifying themselves outside of the sports that they're playing?
Yeah. Coaches. The coaches, the athletic directors, because their job is on the line. You can't miss practice. I don't care how you feel. You need to be at practice. You can't miss practice because you have a test. You can't miss practice for any reason because you are on my team. You're an athlete. And so I have athletes telling me, I really don't feel it today. I really just want to do something different, or I'm struggling with this, or I got this going on and I need some time, but I can't miss practice because my scholarship is on the line. If I miss practice, my position on the team is on the line. My start, whatever it is, it's on the line. And that pressure comes from coaches and athletic directors. Well, not necessarily from the athletic directors, but just athletic departments, period. They tell these students, this is why you're at this school. You are here to play this sport and get an education. And when that's put into your head, and oh my God, I don't even talk about youth basketball, like AAU. I don't know if you know about athletic AAU basketball.
I know about youth basketball.
Like travel basketball. It's awful, Dr. Martin. Like maybe you should come to a game with me just to see how awful it is. Like you got these adult men coaching these kids, 8, 9, 10, 11 teenagers, talking to them like nothing. Like, I don't care what you got going on. You need to do this and make this shot, cussing out the referees, arguing with the parents, and the students just sitting there like, I guess I'm just here to play. And if I don't play right, my coach is going to fight the referee or argue with my parents. AAU culture is so bad right now. I would not let my kid play AAU, period. Not right now.
So I'm going to look that up. I'm going to be real with you. My son just started playing. Eric Capehart and I both reside in Nashville. He started playing like I-9 basketball, sports and stuff like that.
I-9 is cool. I like I-9.
5 in a couple months.
Yeah.
And it was fun to watch them like do the drills and stuff like that. But at one point, and mind you, once again, I am just now getting into sports at my old age. At the most I used to watch sports.
If you let your son into sport, if your son is playing, you are now a sports mom. Get ready.
My husband's son.
Your husband's son. Get ready.
Okay, like, that's the thing. It's not all about me because I would just be like, libraries have great programs every Saturday.
Yeah.
We can go to the library. We'll go to the playground, have a nice little. No, my husband's son is in sports.
I see.
That's what it is, and it wasn't. It's not a question. It's like, all right. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
all right. Yeah. I ain't gonna tell this man what to do with his son.
Right. Let him
I enjoy being married. Yeah. So, but it was interesting how quickly, like, he was doing something. He was running and he was getting the ball. And he was like grabbing the ball, and I said, "Get it!" And I was like, "Oh my God, I am so sorry. Yeah. I am so sorry."
That's a normal reaction. Let me normalize that for you. That's normal.
Yeah, no, but that was excessive. Yeah. I said, I was like, "I am so sorry."
Yeah,
they are 4.
Yeah,
super inappropriate. I don't want to be that guy. I do not want to be that guy. He did. He got to do a little bit better with the shooting. But one thing, he'd go for the ball. I'd be like, "Wait, what?"
See, you're already giving me the characteristics of a sports mom.
And I'm not trying to be that way.
It's just, you can't help it. It's either
you can't. I shocked myself and I was like, wow, they're 4, Raquel. Chill. Yeah. But he enjoyed it. But I guess I want to look that up more because I didn't know the traveling was different. How do you differentiate between, because one of the things that brought you into this was working with the parents. How do you differentiate between, okay, there's a certain level of stress that goes in with this realm. Like, we want you to enjoy it, but there's a certain level of stress.
Yeah.
What are some signs in terms of the lines you see versus this is an appropriate or a healthy level of stress because it's a high stress environment, or you're contributing to the detriment of your child, or the coach is contributing to the detriment of your child's, or the fans are contributing to the detriment of your child's mental well-being? Like, what are some things you see that are like, this is healthy versus this is unhealthy?
Parents, as you know, it's not just the one person. It's the whole, whatever unit you're a part of. And when we start off our work with whoever, we start off, if it's a child, we start off with the parent in the session, of course. We let the parents say, hey, this is what we think is going on. And then I tell the student, just sit back. Let's just listen. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to agree with any of it. Let's just hear what your parent has to say. So we let them say what they have to say. Then we allow the young person to, say their part. And then we start the work. I always involve the parents along the way, though. And if I'm working with a student or an athlete and they're telling me that, my mom is just like really on me, because some sports moms, like, you feel like what you were doing was like over the top. Some moms, they put so much pressure on these young men, boys and girls to be athletes because they see them as their ticket out of their current situation.
Is that only moms though?
No, it's both parents. It's not just moms. Okay. It's moms, dads, aunts, uncles, whoever. But that is so much pressure because what happens is, I remember I used to work at TSU, and I worked in the counseling center, and I worked primarily with the athletes. So many athletes told me they didn't want to even play sports anymore. but I got to keep playing because my mom wants me or my family wants me to do this, and they think I'm going to the next level. And I'm like, well,
that's such a small percentage.
Yeah.
That's such a small percentage.
You're probably not going to go to the next level because a part of mental performance, if you have a blockage, the first thing that we do is we assess, do you have the skill to compete at this level? And your skill may have diminished over the time that you've been playing Division I football, like at a TSU. You came in as maybe like a 3-star recruit, but over time, I don't know, you gained weight, you got fatter, you slowed down, you weren't as strong, and your skill level is not where it once was. And so your family's thinking you're going to the league and you're not even starting on the team that you're on. You're not even getting any playing time. So it's not realistic that you're going to make it to the league out of the 1% of college football players who make it. And I always talk about football because I was a football player and I work with a lot of football players. College football athletes, 1% are going to make it to the league.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
that's so small.
Your whole team is not going to, nobody on this team is going to the pros.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, I think the pressure from family and whoever, the coaches, it really weighs heavily on athletes a lot of athletes just play because they enjoy the sport. It's a game.
Yeah, it's a game.
It's still a game, but they've used that game to, get a free college education or get a reduced rate or get some free cleats or whatever they got from it. But it's just a game to these kids. And a lot of them see it as such but at the same time, you have people putting pressure on you to make it to the pros just because you were able to and fortunate enough to play in college. But everybody's just not going to make it.
So what do you think if you had to think of like, I don't know, typical emotional or physical symptoms that might be manifestations of like these students are burning out and now it's starting, or these athletes are burning out and it's contributing to a detriment in their performance, right? Because when I've dealt with people, I did a talk with the TSU undergrad sports, but it wasn't just basketball or football. It was like a bunch of sports. And I mentioned like when it came to mental health, it's just like another person on your team, right? Like my goal is always, because they were like, who do you think you're at ends with? And they were like, oh, I would think that you're kind of at ends with the coach. Like, and I'm like, no, like if anything, we're on the same team because both of our goal is kind of to get you to where you need to be. Now we may do it differently. And I'm sure one of us is kinder in the way we do it, but the goal is kind of just to get you to where you need to be. What are some signs you think that people need to recognize that it's time to give the athletes another person on their team to get them to the performance that you're expecting of them, like that because they're breaking down? If
your athlete is missing practice on like a regular basis or coming up with excuses to not be a part of the team, that's a symptom. Like, all right, what's going on? If your athlete has the skill level to compete at a high level, but they're not, that's a red flag. Like, we need to figure out what's happening. And those are generally the two things, Dr. Martin. If their skill level is where it needs to be and they're not performing at the reasonably expected level, then there's probably something going on. And then if it's not that, it's more than likely going to be some type of psychological issue. Maybe they don't have a good relationship with the coach. Maybe they don't have any friends on the team. Maybe they are trying to take care of home while they're a college student, paying bills. I'm talking about taking care of a household, literally, while being a college student, So those are the things. If their athletic skill level is diminishing from what's expected, we need to figure something out. And if they're missing practice and just not seeming to be in tune with what's happening in the game, then those are some red flags for me.
It is still possible to perform. Do you think it's still possible to perform optimally? Like you're meeting all the markers when it comes to performing at the skill level and there's still something wrong?
Well,
like mentally,
I think it's possible.
Like, oh, they're still meeting all the sports, but then it's just like, I don't know. I haven't seen this man smile in at least 27 days, but like they got the ball.
Some people just have it, Doc.
Yeah.
Some people just have it, but most, they don't. If they are stressing out about something, they're not going to be able to compete at the level that's reasonably expected. But again, so yes, it is possible. I think it's possible because some people just got that dog in them, right? You just get into sports. But if you hear someone say they got that dog in them, like some people, they just have it. right? No matter what, they lock in because they might be using that challenge, or they might see that issue more so as a challenge than a problem. And some athletes, especially boxers, like they love it. Like, let's go. Like, I'm getting out the mud. Like, I expect it to be hard. It just pushes me to punch harder, right? Or run faster or jump higher because of all this stuff that I'm dealing with. I got to be 10 times better on the field so that I can keep myself out of that situation. So yes, it's possible, but everybody don't have that dog in them, Dr. Martin. If you're struggling with negative self-talk or negative thinking, it's going to show up on the tape. And in sports, they say the tape don't lie. And so if we're watching the tape and we're seeing you dropping passes that you normally catch, or as a quarterback throwing interceptions, we normally don't do that. What's going on? Let's sit down and talk about what's happening because we see it on the tape.
Hey, everyone, just a reminder that Mind Your Mental is not just a podcast. It is also a amazing community, if I do say so myself. It's phenomenal. I mean, you get more access to me. What more could you want in this life? So if you want to join the community, if you're not already on the community, go to my social media. My social media is the same, Raquel Martin, PhD, and DM me the word community so you can get details on joining this amazing flipping community. You get more access to me, y'all. Like, I'm a delight. All right. Hope to see you there.